And Monday, United States of America. Change in effective tax rates under Romney and Obama. Not that anything will come of these, but this is the general idea. In pretty blue is Obama, and the tax rates will rise on the richest people to the right of the chart. Under Romney, the richest people will get the largest tax cuts, and it steps back through medium and to the poor people at the end who are going to get a tax rise. So a lot of poor people are going to pay a little more tax, and it stepped equally more and more. As the richer you get, the bigger decrease in your tax bill is going to happen under Romney. And just about exactly the opposite from Obama. The worrying thing is the first thing I said, that these will not probably come to anything. And if anything, that's the worrying thing in the United States, that although the presidential candidates put forward these kind of budget proposals or these taxing proposals, we kind of know, don't we, do we, that nothing will come of them. And that is very odd. Do you not think? If we think about it, how do we know what to do? How do we know what anything is? If when these people say something, we kind of know that nothing will come of it. Or at least what comes with it won't be at all what they proposed. Very odd. Moving on, New York Times. State and local governments everywhere are in a sticker shock. Now, I don't know what a sticker shock is, but I'll just go on anyway. Over the rising cost of public employee pensions and scrambling to manage those obligations. That we understand. New York State has taken a reasonable approach that allows public employers to pay a portion of their yearly contribution to New York's $140 billion public pension fund, and to pay the remainder in installments with interest over a decade. The equivalent of "I'll pay you Tuesday." Critics say this program is borrowing sleight of hand that only postpones the problem. We were also skeptical when the idea was first raised, but the state controller, Thomas DiNapoli, has persuasively argued that the program is transparent and helps smooth out payments in tough times without undue risk to the fund. The problem here is it smooths out payments in tough times. How many and how long do these tough times now go on? We've been in tough times for 4-5 years. Are these tough times going to end? A problem for the pension funds. I've dragged out this Yahoo chart of the S&P for the United States going back to 1950, and as you can see, the pension fund people had no problem for 50 years. From 1950 to 2000, they bought stock, they held stock, they made money on stock, and of course the dividends came as well, and everyone was very happy. The year 2000, everything seems to have changed, except their expectations. 2000, the stock market was marginally above where it was in 2007 before the crash, which was marginally above where it is now. 12 years on, the stock market has not gone up at all. Dividends have come in, but the stock market has not gone up at all. This is a problem, as we now know that bonds are at a all-time low, except for the capital gains that you can take. Where are the pension funds in these tough times going to make their money? Going out to the larger economy, the United States economy and young male college graduates, ages age 25 to 34, full-time workers, bachelor's degree only. This is from the census data. In the year 2000, these college grads hit their peak, the male college grads, at $73,000 a year. But now that number has come down to $59,000 a year. Will these college grads be paying into pensions? And the girls, they were later to climax. They reached their peak in 2003, but since then, for them, it has been downhill, and they are now down to 47,000, where the boys were at 59,000. Moving on, number 5 is an interesting table, and we'll walk through it together. Real income growth by groups. Now this is 1993 to 2010. So we're just under the last 20 years. Now, if I can take you down column number 2, top 1% income real growth for the Clinton expansion. We'll leave the full period. We'll come to that in the end. Pretend that's at the bottom. So we're on column 2, the top 1%, you know, that we now know to protest about the 99% and the 1%. So the 1% under the Clinton expansion expanded from 1993 to the year 2000. They expanded their real growth by 98%, just about doubled it. And the bottom 99%, or the rest, or the major, the great population, increased their income growth by 20% in those 6-7 years. But then in 2001, 2002, there was a bust, and the top 1% went down about a third, and the bottom 99% went down 6.5%. Then the Bush expansion, mainly built on housing, the boom in housing took the 1% up again 2/3. And the bottom 99% recouped what they lost in the 2000-2001 and went up only 6.8% in that entire expansion. Then the Great Recession hit again in, 2008-9, and the top 1% lost a third again, and the bottom 99% lost 12% since the last couple of years, 2009 and 10. The top 1% have bounded up 12%, and the bottom 99% are still flat, and that sort of trend is continuing, giving us now up to the top, the full period, the 18-ish years of 1993 to 2010, real growth for the top 1% has gone up 58%, and for everyone else it's gone up only 6.4%, and this is the real problem. There is no real income growth for the vast majority of the population. So average income growth doesn't really bother us, because that column 1, because that includes the top 1% who skew all the figures completely wrong. So average income growth, we can say, is 13.8%, which is bad in itself. But if we go over to column 4, we can see that the top 1% actually took over half of that real income growth. And the most important figure to come back to is column 3 at the top. Over that period, 1993 to 2010, income real growth has only been 6.4%. That's not per annum, that's for the whole period of 1993 to 2010. Shockingly bad. That's bad enough, and all the time cranking on are 2 other main things. The huge rise, or 3 things, you can say, rise in education. But healthcare is not just a thorn, it's a dagger in the side of the American people. Now, this is an interactive chart if you follow the link, and it's quite interesting. The grey blobs are Argentina, Canada, Chile, and India. The powder blue blobs are France, Germany, Spain, and Switzerland, and the red blobs are the United States for various medical procedures. Low-cost procedures, an angiogram is a low-cost procedure. Well, it's a low-cost procedure everywhere but the United States. You can see the difference in these is $30 on the left and $800 on the right, where America stands. Others are in between, but you can see how wildly expensive the United States is. And I think that's Argentina in grey up there in angiograms. CT scan, of course, the America is much more expensive, and we can just go down through all of these where America is the most expensive. The CT scan pelvis, CT scan abdomen. Down in higher cost procedures, in America, all things are more expensive except that one, which is cataract surgery, where it's more expensive in Switzerland. But otherwise, vaginal delivery is more expensive, and an appendectomy is $13,000 in America, where everywhere else it's well under half that price. Highest cost procedures, $68,000 for a coronary artery bypass. One country is up in America's half. Otherwise, most other countries are nearly a third of the price, and then an awful lot less than America. Hip replacement, America out on its own. Angioplasty, again, you've got to work out why the United States is so goddamn expensive, and can they keep on affording these sort of goddamn expensive procedures? I say no. Not without realizing that this must be paid with Mickey Mouse money. And of course, the final problem, which isn't as bad for the United States as it is for some other places in the world, we can say that they are getting their energy use under control, because we can see in 2006 and 7 they peaked in their energy use, and it has come down and stayed down since then. In red, the United States, but the rest of the world just pushes on, upwards and further upwards in their energy use. This particular energy is oil, but that will increasingly increase the world's use of oil if it's there to be used. The rest of the world will outbid the United States for oil, and the United States will use less and less. They will need to find new energy to replace that oil, to pay for all those medical procedures and all the rest of it. That's all. It was All America this Monday. Bye.